I appreciate you all taking the time to hear this bill today. This is a bill that is for American Rescue Plan Act reappropriations. We have a fact sheet in front of us that goes over where the recommended appropriations are coming from and also where they are recommended to go to. The fact sheet in front of you is taking the bill as we expect it to be amended in committee. We do have some amendments to get some of those numbers more squared away to be the most up to date as possible and things that are ready to move now. So this is a total of just over $3 million of reappropriations going to two places. Over $2 million with funds going to the water infrastructure repair and replacement, namely fire hydrants. They have a lot of need of fire hydrants that need to be serviced, that need work. This is crucial infrastructure. We all know that, especially as it starts getting hotter. And then also, if we get the amendments through today, so just over $2 million for the water division regarding fire hydrants, infrastructure, and about just over $650,000 for food assistance with the Department of Human Services for a contract that we can extend. So those are the things that you're going to hear today. Caitlin Smith in the mayor's office has been diligently working with departments to be able to find out every penny that is not going to be able to be spent by the deadline, whether that's 18 cents of a project that has completed or whether that's hundreds of thousands of dollars that just can't be expended for the purpose that they were intended for with the original bills. So she has done a great job both preparing this bill and working with the departments to make sure everyone is here today to answer questions.
The successful passage of this bill would mean those conversations would move forward and additional funding could be prepared for recovery, rebuilding, and reinvestment. Before I walk through the eligible uses and how the city plans to direct each fund, I want to address the reallocation of the reserve funds. I know some of my colleagues here supported keeping a portion of the settlement funds in reserves. Under different circumstances, I would agree that keeping reserves in an interest-bearing account is a financially responsible way to hedge against future emergencies. However, as members of the public and members of this body have pointed out during our hours of discussion already, we are currently in a crisis that requires every source of funding available. Ultimately, the reserve funds outlined in this bill were redistributed to further support tornado recovery, water infrastructure, and vacancy reduction. Broadly, Board Bill 22, as amended in committee, funds the three funding priorities I described earlier. Within each fund are sub-accounts, each with their own specific purpose and use.
Amendments 3 through 6 all kind of fall into one camp. So for the sake of expediency, should Amendment 3 fail, I will not be bringing 4, 5, or 6. So all these amendments are basically to strip out the grants for small businesses. We've seen previously that these small business grants have been abused. They're ripe for corruption. We're just not good at this. It's not something that we should be doing. I'm happy to answer any questions.
But like the Alderman said, 3 relates to 4 and 5, which is in the drive, that would basically take away the funding for small businesses in North St. Louis. And I know the Alderman from the 4th does not reside in the North Side. And yes, there may have been issues with the ARPA funds with the small business grant, but this is completely different. We know ARPA funds also have a lot more requirements. There's a lot more regulations around them compared to us being able to use RAMS funds. You know, they're outside of homes being impacted in North St. Louis. There's been a lot of businesses that have also been impacted. A lot of businesses that do not have the funding and capital like maybe they would in the 4th Ward in Dogtown to be able to rebuild in the same way as other colleagues. So I wish the Alderman from the 4th would have maybe attended at least one hearing around the RAMS funding to actually hear or maybe showed up to any of the budget hearings to actually hear residents and their concerns of wanting to see funds actually put to Northside. As an alder who actually live in South St. Louis, I do think it's a shame, and it's a slap in the face to so many people that he do not represent, that most of the times he probably do not drive over to go see those businesses. Would love to know how many times he's actually been in the tornado impacted area to actually see some of the businesses that have been impacted. So I would ask my colleagues not only to vote this down because it's a horrible amendment, I would ask them to vote this down because I think it's super insensitive to even be thinking about pulling funding back from small businesses, mainly Black and brown, that are struggling.
I don't know if I've ever been this disappointed in the Aldermen of the 4th as I feel right now. I am deeply disappointed to see this amendment brought forth. I am not going to yield to inquiry or ask to yield to an inquiry because I want to be able to maintain a sort of decorum. But I do want to say on record that I think it is absolutely shameful to bring something forward to suggest that people who had an EF3 tornado should not be able to get resources, to suggest that we should tie things to real property claims and put liens on people's property. I wish that the Alderman of the 4th, that maybe he needs to drive through those 2 communities because they're still in that state today, putting a lien on a property that was blown away in a tornado. That is really shameful, and it really doesn't make any sense. Again, I don't know if we're aware, but we're talking about we want to make these be loans. There are people that are having to take loans out to meet their basic needs right now. There are people who are having to take loans out in order to afford their utilities, to get their groceries. If you had a vehicle that was on the street and it got blown away, that was in a tornado. There are people who are trying to figure out, as far as their home situation, their loan, they're upside down in their loans because of intentional neglect by the government. And now a member that is a part of the local body of government is proposing that we not only tie things to real property and put liens on properties, but that we put loans in place. I just think it is deeply shameful, and I want to make sure that I'm perfectly clear on the record